Hello everyone, this is Joe Felix. Welcome to my channel Knowing the World. Today I'm going to talk to you about Enoch as I continue to talk about the Bible. The book of Enoch was taken out of the Bible by the Catholic Church. In Genesis, there is only one sentence that mentions Enoch, nothing else. But in other parts of the Bible, there are references made to Enoch. But one interesting thing that I found in the book, which I'm going to read for you, Enochian version of the events of Genesis 6, verses 1 to 4, preserves and transmits the original context for the first four verses of the flood account. Remember, I had two videos made on about the flood in Mesopotamia. Okay, so now they are saying it again. It says, put another way, details in certain Testament passage which links to the Genesis 6 1 through 4 episode can only be traced to one Enoch, and those elements in turn are quite consistent with the original Mesopotamian context of Genesis 6 1 through 4. Remember, in one of the videos, I mentioned that it was discovered that a lot of parts of the Bible, or most of the Bible, is predated. It's predated. So now we are finding out again that the flood story, which I spoke about before, is still happen in Mesopotamia. I'm gonna shorten the story of Enoch a little bit. The beginning, because the book is long. It has 107 chapters. To begin with, Enoch says that God had sent watchers to watch over the world, over the earth, and 200 of them decided to fall in love with women on earth and decided to take women as wives and have children. When they decided that, which I'm going to read for you, Semjaza, who was their leader, said unto them, I fear ye will not indeed agree to this deed, and I alone shall have to pay the penalty of a great sin. He said to them that they would have to pay because this is a sin, because they are spiritual beings. They cannot be involved with human, and they didn't send them down for that, but they decided to do it anyway, to move forward. And they were all 200 who descended in the days of Jared on the summit of Mount Hermon, and they called it Mount Hermon because they had sworn and bound themselves by mutual imprecation upon it. That's where they decided to do that. And they had a sermon to go ahead and have relations with earth women. I'm gonna pass the names because there are a lot of names. And after they've done that, the women became pregnant, and they had giants as children. Those children are the ones they call Nephilims in the Bible. Nephilims. And it says the giants turned against them and devoured mankind. But let me go back. And they became pregnant and bare great giant who was 3,000 health, who consumed all the acquisitions of men. The giant consumed all the acquisitions of men, And when men could no longer sustain them, turns the giant the giants turned against them and devoured mankind. And they began to sin against the birds, the beasts, the reptiles, and fish, to devour and to devour one another's flesh and drink the blood. It was horrible. Not only they did that. Now this may be you may be called the fall of the angels, because those watchers, as Enoch put it, you call them angels. So I'm gonna go ahead and call them angels. Remember, they were beings from above. There was one called Azazel. Azazel taught them to make swords and knives and shields and breastplates. It made known to them the metals of the earth, the art of knowing working them, and bracelets and ornaments, and the use of antimony. Antimony is kind of a chemical, and the beautifying of the eyelids and all kinds of costly stones and the coloring of tinctures. And there arose much godlessness, and they committed fornication, and they were led astray, and became corrupt in all their ways. Semjaza taught enchantment and root cutting. Amaros, the resolving enchantment. Barakijal taught them astrology. Kokabel taught them the constellations. Ezekiel, the knowledge of the clouds. Arakiel, the signs of the earth. Shemsiel, the sign of the sun. Sariel, the course of the moon. And as men perished, they cried, and their cry went up to the heaven. And then Michael, Uriel, Raphael, and Gabriel looked down from heaven, and saw much blood being shed upon the earth, and all lawlessness being wrought upon the earth. They went up to the Master, to God. Thou seest what Azazel has done. That's what they said to God. And Shemzaza, to whom thou hast given authority to bear rule over his associates. God said, find Azazel, find them, and especially Azazel, bind him and put him in a place where, take him to a place where there is no man, no human, and bury him there underground, put rocks over him where he cannot see light. Then he sent Uriel to go to Noah and tell Noah that he will send a flood to earth to destroy the earth and the giants. Unfortunately, not all the giants died. Unfortunately, after the flood, there were still giants that existed. Now they call them demons. They call them demons. The angels, or the watchers who defiled, used Enoch as their mediator to go back and forth and take messages up to God for them, for forgiveness and all that, but he wouldn't take it. He wouldn't listen to it. God also said to the four angels, Michael, Uriel, Raphael, Gabriel, who had gone to him, to set the giants one against the other so they could devour each other also. He wanted that to happen. You ask yourself, why did the Catholic Church take out a part, a book that is supposed to be part of the Bible? What were they trying to hide? It was not to their advantage. There are certain parts of this book that implicates something else. And let me find it for you. Here it is. And the vision was shown to me, thus behold, in the vision of clouds invited me in a mist, summoned me, and the course of the stars and the lightning sped and hastened me, and the winds in the vision caused me to fly, lifted me upward, and bore me into heaven. Now, those people in those days, when they see things, and we too, we describe it according to what we know, just like you would call here culture clash, because the way somebody in a country may know something and you here in the United States, you know it in a way when they see it, or if you try to explain it to them, they, in their mind, they conceptualize it according to what they know, according to their culture, according to the way things are back home. And in those days, there were no lights. They didn't know lights. They didn't know a lot of things they didn't know. So as he tried to express what he saw, when he says stars, it may not really be stars. Okay? Because if you look at how he is describing this, please listen. And I went in till drew nigh a wall which is built of crystal. A wall which is built of crystal. He was in a machine, a flying saucer, and surrounded by tongues of fire. The lights and the fire, that is the fire of the machine, just like when the missiles are going up. Okay? And it began to affright me. And I went into the tongue of the fire and drew nigh to a large house. A large house. Is it a station? A space station that were up there? And that's where they took him? And drew me to a large house which was built of crystal. A large house which was built of crystal. What was that? And the walls of the house were like a tesselated floor made of crystal. Do you see that? Do you hear? And its groundwork was of crystal. The groundwork was of crystal. Its ceiling was like the path of the stars and the lightning. And between them were fiery cherubim, and their heaven was clear as water. Now, I don't want to go further, but if you understand what he's talking about, okay, you see, its ceiling was like the path of the stars. There were lights in the ceiling. There were lights in the ceilings. So that's what he's talking about. Okay, so now let me move forward. I wanted you to hear that. Before I move forward, there is something he says. And I beheld a vision, and lo, there was a second house, greater than the former. And the entire portal stood open before me, and it was built of flame of fire. And its floor was of fire, and above it were lightnings, and the paths of the stars, and its ceiling was flaming fire. There is one thing that I didn't mention, I forgot to mention that according to what they say, the angels or the watchers fell in love with the women because of their hair. Because of that, to this day, you have women in the Catholic Church or in the Muslim religion, when they go into the temples and the church or the mosque, they have to cover their head. That's where that tradition came from. Because there is something very interesting that I discovered. A Scottish explorer named James Bruce in the late 18th century was traveling in the North and East Africa region, went to Ethiopia and found the book of Enoch, which they had been using as sacred. No one knows for how long. He took that book back to Europe. The book was in a language called Ge'ez, an African language, an Ethiopian language. Why was that book discovered in Ethiopia? Why was it that Ethiopia alone had that book? When they finally discovered the Dead Sea Scrolls, they found part of the book of Enoch, they had to use the Ethiopian version to help them piece it together. Now, I always believed that once I heard that it was seventh generation from Adam, that he was African. There was an African root. Because all these regions, Mesopotamia, all the Persia and all of them, because remember, in Persia they had the Anunnakis, supposedly were extraterrestrials who came from above. Okay, and when the Anunnakis came, they call them blackheads. There is a connection there. I am trying to use this to go where I need to go with you and make you understand the lies that exist in the Bible, and those who claim to have been the children of God and all these things, they were there from the beginning. It's lies. It's all lies. Okay? I'm not gonna make the video too long today because I don't like long videos. Alright? I want to thank you for watching. Please give it a like and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done that yet, and press the notification bell. Thank you.